This is James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. This is the podcast you're looking for. You may not go about your business. Stay here, listen, and then move along.
Oh boy, after that last episode. Welcome to a more civilized podcast.
It's been a whole week for them.
I know.
I guess we're airing all of these at the same time, so never mind. It might not have been.
Whew. Episode 9, our Villains Bracket finale. I'm so excited to do this. As always, I'm Kyler.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ross.
Awesome. Ross, you want to take away the news, as per the norm?
Yes. Well, the first one again, I guess I can take both. So, the first exciting announcement in the news this week is the release of the Star Wars Complete Visual Dictionary, which is the new canon visual dictionary with, as much as they can fit in it. I was impressed by how big it is, both in thickness
it's quite
and
large.
in height and length.
Girth.
Overall girth. So it's awesome. I mean, it's the same standard of excellence that they've done on their other visual dictionary books. One thing that did surprise me, though, is actually there is a lot of stuff that comes straight from the other old, no longer canon visual dictionaries.
Yeah.
Like the diagram of the Sarlacc is in there. It's the exact same one that was in the last visual dictionary I have. There were lots of things. So lots of the R2-D2 diagrams, which, by the way, those diagrams don't always agree.
Oh, really?
Yep. Well, in one particular, they have...
Maybe R2 just has different loadouts.
Well, and that was my headcanon explanation, is because the one little attachment that is labeled differently in the two different diagrams does look like you could say there are several different attachments that it just rotates out of. But, I mean, I don't know.
You heard it here, folks. Ross is dissing R2.
No, just Pablo Hidalgo, who couldn't keep his own stuff straight. Yeah, I went there.
Whoa.
Take that.
Sorry, Pablo.
Man.
Yeah, no, those are easy oversights, especially because that's a lot of stuff for him to go.
Yeah.
And the next bit of exciting news is the release of the Star Wars Solo, a Star Wars Story, a DVD and Blu-ray. Physical copy comes out this week. The digital copy's been out for a little bit now, but the actual physical copy...
By the time this episode airs, it will have come out yesterday.
Yes, for a full 24 hours. So
hopefully you've already bought it. If not, get to your stores and get it. Support Star Wars.
Or if you didn't, we'll talk about that later too.
Yeah. Still on the fence. We'll see.
That's all the news, I think.
That's all the news.
We are ready. We are ready to start our final bracket. As always, Ross is going to be sort of the final judge and arbiter here.
Well, as always so far, I'm thinking when
That's
we do
true.
a heroes bracket, Ross has got to argue that one because he's the hero guy.
Oh, that's true.
Fair.
I'll represent the anti-hero. I don't know. Whatever. But for this bracket, anyway, Ross is going to continue his role as master judge, final word, ultimate sayer of
This
says.
third episode of something we originally planned to take one episode.
and
don't you, the audience, wish we had also broken up that Last Jedi and Rogue One episode?
For real.
Yes,
You guys have no idea. The discussion raged on for about an hour after we stopped recording.
Yeah.
So
Not between
you thought
us,
it was
but-
long.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was long.
I wanted to, give my wife a chance because I knew I wasn't going to make her points as well as she could.
No, that's fair. And she did well.
She did.
I'm stubborn.
I also wanted to show her the way it is to argue with you. That was one thing actually I was telling Kyler as well.
I apologize. It's not an easy thing.
As we went and got food afterwards, like, yeah, I mean, I should have just mentioned, anytime there's a debate and Chris is on one side, the other side loses. So.
No, that's not true. That's
Largely.
not true.
Largely.
Sometimes.
And especially on your home turf of story. I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
was a tough hill to
I've
climb.
lost arguments there too, but yeah, not often.
All right.
It's not because I'm a really, really good debater. It's because I'm just too freaking stupid stubborn.
You know what? I will say,
to back out.
You just straight up just ignoring, irrelevant, or just saying things irrelevant when they're not.
No, and you're right. That was me being a dick. But I get heated. I apologize. My dad's a lawyer. I inherited the gene.
So yeah, you'll
which is
have
why you debate so
to
well.
for this bracket, you'll have to remember 2 episodes of this ago. So that's like
Yes.
4 episodes.
Or heck,
something
just go
like
listen through.
Go
Well,
listen
I
to
mean,
it
it's a
again.
little late to tell you now that you should just listen to them in order and skip and then go back to those other episodes. But if you're listening to this now, well, sorry, you missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
But you can re-listen.
So we
to
have
them.
our winners from the left side of the bracket versus our winners from the right side of the bracket, and now we're going to find out who the master of evil is.
Gonna whittle them all down.
Whittle
So
everybody
Well,
down.
that's Darth.
our first
Master of evil.
our first matchup: Sheev Palpatine versus Maximilian Veers.
There's no question.
Yeah, Veers has clearly got nice.
Veers and his combat expertise are going to take out the Emperor.
Do you think Palpatine could even... It would be as simple as him just ordering Veers to die. Would Veers do it?
I think
Pretty loyal.
if Palpatine backed it up with some Force abilities, yes, he would. Kind of like he did with Luke.
Die. Yeah.
Of course, that didn't work, so hey, maybe not.
Yeah, it's Palpatine.
I really doubt Vader's going to step in for Veers, though.
We're already making so much progress. So, Cassio Taga
Yep.
versus Admiral Trench.
Ooh, Admiral Trench is gonna beat him. I mean, he's a human versus a Spider-Man in
Yeah, I'd give that to Trench.
like, physical combat.
The argument we already had for Trench, and who was he up against? Piet? Yeah, I mean, it applies here too. Like, Trench's advantages carry over into this fight as well.
Yep.
Okay. Darth Maul versus Pre Vizsla.
See, this one I commented last week when we were talking about. We've actually seen this duel. And by we, I mean other people who watch Rebels.
Yes.
But I know about it.
Clone
I know.
Wars.
Clone Wars, sure, whatever. I don't keep track of these things. But yeah, these two did actually duel, and it was basically in this kind of arena-style thing where they both knew they were in a duel, and they faced down, and Maul won. So
Yeah, can we argue with canon?
Nope.
don't think so.
Maul it is.
I mean, I could argue with canon if someone, like, took someone out from behind unexpectedly, and now we're putting them in a match where they know they're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the exact same fight,
Yeah.
so...
Boba Fett versus Gar Saxon.
Oh, dude. No question. Gar Saxon is a cheap Mandalorian imitation of the OG Mandalorian. Boba Fett is going to have Gar Saxon for lunch.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Look at this. We're already a quarter of the way through, dudes.
No, we're a quarter of the way through this section of the bracket.
No, we're a quarter of the way the whole... Well,
We're a quarter of the way through the final 16.
Quarter of the way, through this table. Never mind.
We're getting there. Ross is all excited to be done. The episode just started.
I hate you.
Ross just saw who's next up on the list.
I hate you so much. So this is the actual name of Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so,
right.
As our listeners hopefully know, I love Ross. I love making Ross say the terrible names of the Star Wars characters. So I decided to put Grand Admiral Thrawn's full actual name on the bracket so Ross would have to read it.
So just so you know what I'm looking at here, his first name is spelled M-I-T-T-H, comma, apostrophe, R-A-W, apostrophe, N-U-R-U-O-D-O. So that's Mithranurdo?
Even Kyler has to look for this.
Mithranurdo.
Yeah, sure.
Mithranurdo.
I mean,
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
yeah.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Versus Dryden Voss.
Thank you, Ross. That was absolutely as painful as I wanted it
That
to
is
be.
interesting. Thrawn and Voss. I'd give that to Thrawn, I think, because he is shown to have some combat prowess. Voss beat Jabba mainly because of those knives of his, but with the combat prowess Thrawn is shown with his training droids and stuff, I think he'd have the edge even if Voss has those knives.
But it's not like he can disarm them. They're like brass knuckles. They're like
Oh yeah, that's
armored
fair,
fingers.
but still,
And anytime he gets close, all he's got to do, I mean, even just a simple like wrist turn is going to be cutting Thrawn if he like tries to grab his arms or something.
Well, if Thrawn, knowing anything about combat, knows, not to get close.
Well, then how does he kill him?
But let
Sure.
me phrase it this way. So we've seen Dryden Voss get beaten by Emilia Clarke. Could Grand Admiral Thrawn beat Emilia Clarke?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like he could.
Yeah,
so
I mean-
probably he can beat Voss too.
But again, that goes back to what we were just saying earlier, or what you just said earlier about like getting stabbed in the back, but they don't know it's coming. So
That's true. That is how she.
and that's how she gets him.
I forgot
Because in a
that.
straight fight, she would not have beaten him.
Wouldn't Thrawn have a blaster in his toy box, his kit?
Probably.
Probably.
That would be my thought.
But my guess is so would Dryden. He'd have the knives and the
Even
blaster.
if we're doing a blaster duel, I think I'd still give it to Thrawn though. Like it's definitely a close matchup, but I think Thrawn has the edge.
yeah,
there.
I would agree.
I will allow Thrawn to win, mostly because I was going to pick Thrawn because I thought for sure Chris was going to argue Dryden Voss.
Yeah, no,
And then when he didn't, I was like, oh, well, I've got to argue somewhere, something. So,
Okay, next we have Rook versus Cumberlane Oresco.
Rook is going to,
Yeah.
he's going to kill
He's an
him for
assassin.
sure.
That's his job.
He'd probably take him out with his bare hands just because he could.
Yeah.
Here's a fun one. Aura Singh versus Jango Fett.
Yeah. Two of the most elite bounty hunters of their time.
I think I'm gonna give that one to Fett.
I mean, there's obviously a good argument to be made for either of them.
Yeah.
I think Aura Singh could do it, especially where they know that the other one's coming. She's a better sniper than he is.
But, I mean, how big is our arena here? Because he's a very competent sniper, too.
He is very competent, but she's a better sniper.
Are we sure? Because I don't know. I would think that maybe they'd be on the same level with that dart.
That's her thing.
That is her thing. Like,
Her
I'm
sniping.
comfortable with just assuming straight up that, yeah, she's going to be better at this than him at sniping. But is he going to be better at getting into range of her without her sniping him? Like, I feel like I'd give Fett the edge on that, especially because she's also got to be wary of his sniping. Even if she is a better sniper, he's still a really good sniper. And if he manages to close that, yeah, I think he's
Okay,
got
but
the
it
edge.
first comes down to sniping. Who can out-snipe the other? Ross, make your decision.
If it was strictly a sniper battle, probably RSA.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that Django would be crafty enough not to get into that fight, and so would be using cover to close the distance. I feel Fett.
Or, he just leans over and launches a rocket at her location
All
while
right,
she's
fine.
distracted. He jetpacks
Again,
right
I
in,
can't just let
No,
everyone
that's fair.
we agree on.
That's
so.
fair.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, the compelling argument that she could potentially do it.
See, this would be another interesting one here. Cad Bane versus General Grievous.
Cad Bane.
Ooh.
Cad Bane's
Really?
gonna win. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a
Why-
counter argument?
Well, I'm curious to hear the reason.
So Cad Bane, man, this is a guy who Emperor Palpatine, when he's still Chancellor Palpatine, literally hires to hunt down Jedi, and General Grievous doesn't even have the Force. Cad Bane's got rocket boots. He can effectively fly. He's got there's an episode. It's actually the episode where Zero the Hutt gets killed, and Obi-Wan and what the heck is his name? Quinlan Vos go they're trying to recapture Zero. They don't even know that he's been killed at this point. And Cad Bane is there trying to capture Zero the Hutt for the Hutts to bring in because they want their own justice on him. And they get into this awesome fight. Quinlan Vos versus Obi-Wan Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan versus Cad Bane, and he wins, and he grabs them, and he's got this shock thing where this glove or something or other. So he grabs them and can shock them and stuff like that. He has so many gadgets and tricks. General Grievous can't fly. Cad Bane can. General Grievous can use 4 lightsabers, and that's great. But Cad Bane he's got grenades, bombs, he's got his blasters, which he is extremely proficient in. General Grievous is taken down by a blaster. I've got to give it to Cad Bane. This guy is...
Well, we already pointed out in the last fight that he got taken out by the blaster because Obi-Wan had...
You're not supposed to remember that!
I did, so I mean that
And
was
also,
darn.
Grievous can't fly, but he can jump like the Dickens.
and climb.
He's a jumping spider.
But
But,
not-
that's still not the same.
Yeah.
But, I do feel, though, that, Bane would... I feel like it would be quite the
He's
fight.
shown to have, smoke and poison, too, and, General Grievous still has to breathe.
Does he?
He coughs all the time.
That's true,
he
does.
Yeah.
I thought he
Can
had.
his mask filter toxins? I don't know.
I thought he did have limited space faring capabilities. Grievous.
Yeah.
He does. We see him.
Actually, we could
we
look
see
it up
him
in
do
the
that in episode 3.
Yeah,
don't
episode
we?
3.
That's how he escaped.
Oh, that's
from
right. That's right.
Obi-Wan and Anakin.
So I mean, he doesn't actually need to breathe all the time.
Yeah, but even so, even the obscuring factor of smoke bombs, which Cad Bane has all the time, he's got
I
a
think
lot
Cad
of
Bane
tricks.
has demonstrated his flexibility sufficiently enough that I feel comfortable he could take on Grievous.
Okay.
Even if Grievous is a nasty foe, I think I'd give Bane.
I will put a note on it. That would be a fight I'd want to see.
Me too.
Okay, Bane. Next, we have... Oh, goodness. Goodness gracious. This will be a good one. Darth Vader versus Grand Admiral Snoke.
You mean
Not Grand Admiral.
Supreme Leader. Snoke,
Supreme Leader.
yes.
I think I did that last time, too.
We mean Darth Maul companion in bisection Snoke.
yeah?
But didn't survive. Oh, so does that mean Maul's more
did.
powerful?
Yes, let that happen. Oh,
And Snoke
I think
comes back with
Vader's
spider
gonna
legs.
win,
Oh.
man.
Yeah, I mean Snoke is hyper powerful, but so is Vader, and
But Vader has already shown he can defeat enemies that are objectively more powerful than him in the Force.
yeah, that is fair.
And I think Snoke has very little physical abilities.
Yes, no, that's the main thing. Is I think Vader's going to be able to counter anything Snoke can do force-wise.
And then
he's
he's
got a
just going to keep
lightsaber.
walking towards him and then
Yeah.
get him. Yeah.
I mean, he'll counter at least long enough to get close enough to get into the physical melee. So yeah,
Yeah.
Vader.
Goodbye, Snoke.
I was a little bit nervous on that one.
You can say we Snoked him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Ooh. Unkar Plutt versus Mother Talzin.
She's gonna cook that
Unkar
blobfish up. Yeah, yeah. Unkar Plutt. Ross
He
doesn't
will
have a
sit
say.
on it.
Yeah. And for the record, I didn't even wait for these guys to finish laughing before I wrote down
No,
Mother
yeah, that's
Talzin.
why.
Yeah.
That's why I said
No.
it, is because you were already writing it. Like, she's gonna try and chop up Unkar Plutt, and then Simon Pegg's gonna pop out, and she won't be able to do anything because it's just so nice.
Simon Pegg. Poggle the Lesser versus Sebulba.
I'd give that to Sebulba.
Poggle can fly.
Yeah, but he's older. Sebulba's
Yeah.
pretty vicious.
I
They're
know.
roughly of a size.
Yeah, it's Sebulba. There's no way. I mean, maybe if we had seen Poggle with a blaster at some
Yeah,
point.
I
or
think that is
something.
what. Well, no, he did one. Actually.
No, remember he clubbed Newt Gunray.
That's right, with his cane. That's right. From above.
From above.
That's
beats
right.
him down.
Yeah, that won't work against Sebulba.
Yeah, no.
Next, we have Alexander Callus, not Xander. It's an
Yeah.
S, not a Z in there.
That's super weird.
Versus Kylo Ren.
Now, Agent Callus is cool, but
Yeah, I mean,
Kylo
I think
Ren.
it would be an okay fight, but unfortunately, Kylo
I don't
Ren
know.
has to win.
I mean, we've physically seen Kylo pretty much shut down anything Callus could do. I mean,
blaster shot frozen
frozen in
midair.
there.
yeah,
That's
Other than
and then
that,
Agent Callus frozen in place like that.
yeah.
yeah, that's tough to do.
Kylo's got a pretty nasty suite of abilities.
Oh, I think this is one we've also seen in canon. Darth Tyrannus versus Asajj Ventress.
Ah, yes, we have.
Yeah, a couple of times actually, and
Yeah.
she
But-
nearly beats him.
This time,
Nearly.
yeah, it has to be to the death, though. We can't just be get the lower hand and run away. That Asajj
Yeah, she
keeps
doesn't
doing.
have that option here, and I don't think Tyrannus is going to give it to her.
Yeah, I would think, with
Yeah.
her not being able to escape, that has been her only saving grace every time we've seen
Yeah.
it. So I think that's
Dooku, I don't think this is not an apprentice
Yeah.
that eclipses the master.
right.
Yeah. Sorry, Asajj Ventress, you're one of my favorite people.
Tyrannus. Valen Rudor versus Bosk.
So we have essentially an Imperial Han Solo, a hotshot pilot, seems to be, quick with a blaster, versus a Trandoshan bounty hunter.
Mm-hmm.
A skilled Trandoshan
Who
bounty hunter.
makes a habit out of hunting down Jedi in jungles with the other
Yeah.
Trandoshans.
So,
Now, I mean, you call him the Imperial Han Solo. Han Solo got away from Boba Fett, I think we...
Well,
Well, I guess that
he
might come up
flew
later,
away
but-
from Boba Fett and then got tracked down anyway.
yeah.
I mean, I guess he did get away from Boba Fett between 4 and 5, didn't he? But
Yeah.
he
As
also
long as
shot
that's-
first to Greedo, but that doesn't necessarily mean that.
Is it still canon that it's Boba Fett that caught up to the Millennium Falcon between 4 and 5?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's also a scene I would like to see. Slave 1 versus the Millennium Falcon. Anyway. So who are we going with? Have we decided?
I think Bosk has got that.
Ooh, there's another bracket for us. Yeah, ships versus each other.
That could be fun.
All right. We'll
Yeah.
do that one
We
later.
gotta do that at some point.
Sure, I'll give it to Bosk. I mean, he's better at long range. Valen Rudor's only got his sidearm.
I'd say he'd also be better at short range too. So
Yeah, hand to hand.
Well,
it
not
would have to be
melee.
Bosk.
Short range is still longer than melee, but
I meant melee by
Yeah.
short range. So
yeah.
Bosk it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Yogar List.
Mm-hmm.
I got it right this time. Versus Arinda Price.
Yeah. Two favorites from Rebels, as well as two Critical Role alums, right there.
that's right,
Yogar,
that's why you
yeah,
put him
it's,
here.
it's true. I specifically rearranged these and argued for them so that we could have this fight off. Oh, that reminds me, Chris, you go ahead, make an argument. I gotta look something up.
I don't even remember who these people are, man.
This is kind of a low-level Imperial officer
Was
who
the-
we...
Went from very generic to actually has eyes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember him.
And then
Okay.
Arinda Price was the
Governor of
Yeah,
Lothal,
she's the
right,
governess. Yeah, that's the governess. Yeah, I'd give that to Price. I think she's pretty.
Oh, it's absolutely going to Price. There's no question. But I wanted to read a few things here. So, I am not going to go out on a limb and say that we're friends, but Liam O'Brien and I on Twitter, we have an ongoing DM situation. So I asked him this. I'll just read you the whole conversation here. I said, hey, my best two friends and I started a Star Wars podcast. We're coming up on the finale of our villains bracket. You as Yogar List and Mary McGlynn, another voice actor, also from Critical Role, she plays Zara, as Price are paired up. How would List fight in a death match against Price? Any special insight you can give to help me argue him better? His response? I got nothing. And I said, that's what I was afraid of. Price is probably going to waste List. Sorry to see you fall, Liam. Know that I will give it my best. So I am going to give it my best. As promised. Here's the deal. We actually do see a little bit of this rivalry happen in Rebels in Season 4. It might actually even be the finale, or really close to the finale of Season 4 of Rebels. List, not terribly bright. He is convinced by Callus. Oh, so I guess it's Season 3, not 4. He's convinced by Agent Callus that Price is really the defector, the mole in the Empire, who's feeding the rebels all this information. And so List actually goes out hunting down Price, and actually does manage to shoot her. She doesn't die, but he goes after her. Now, if they get into a hand-to-hand combat, Price is going to break his neck like a toothpick. But he does get the drop on her.
Does he have a good chance to get the drop on her here, though?
Not the way we.
I mean, the arena's not empty, so
yeah, that's true.
But they do know each other are coming.
Yeah.
So
personally, I'd go
But Price isn't ever really seen with a pistol. She's only ever seen in like a bureaucratic administrative thing, and then when rebels like jump her, she busts out some sweet karate moves.
I'm still going to go with word of Liam, I think. And I think if you go to the trouble of asking Liam and he says this is what would happen, I don't want to. I think I'm going to.
Yeah, I asked Mary as well, but she didn't respond. So
you do make compelling arguments.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm sticking with List.
I'm not laying. I'm sticking with Price just because Liam said so.
Tie goes to the actor.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what? So who wins?
Tie goes to the actor.
Oh,
Liam said so.
Liam said
Dang
he
it.
wouldn't do it. So, Liam,
Okay.
if you're listening, this is your fault.
Yeah, Liam O'Brien. I tried.
Because honestly, I mean, even just the fact that he has that, the fact that List does have a blaster and Price doesn't usually go for it is, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. But I won't argue with, again, just the experts. We will say the experts. All right, we have the Grand Inquisitor versus Faro Argaius. Did I say it right this time?
Faro.
Faro.
Well, it's the last time you'll have to say it. So
Yeah, Grand Inquisitor's gonna eat this guy.
Yeah.
It's frankly the only reason he didn't die to a well, he does die to a lightsaber. Asajj Ventress kills him, but the only reason he didn't die sooner is because the Jedi didn't want to kill him. Like, that's the only reason he didn't get just mowed down immediately. So, in a situation where he is getting mowed down by someone with zero compunction about killing insubordinates, yeah, he's gone. Grand Inquisitor.
So that brings us. This is our Sweet 16.
Yes, that completes our table of 16. We are now down to the table of 8.
No, this is the table. Well, 8 matchups. Yeah,
Right,
16 contestants.
Yeah.
8 people will live at the end of this set.
Yes.
All right, so we are back to Sheev Palpatine and Admiral Trench.
Palpatine got that one.
Yeah. I mean, Trench is a survivor for sure.
He is.
But there's only so much Force Lightning you can take.
Yeah. Force lightning and massive things being thrown at you, and you being thrown at massive things and lightsabers.
Next we have Darth Maul and Boba Fett.
Mm.
I realize that both of our Fetts have actually continued on, so I need to differentiate them on my list.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna give that to Maul. I mean, well, no, I'm gonna give that to Maul. Fight to the death, specifically. Like last time when I was arguing Jango, I was referring, or when I was arguing Boba, I was referring to Jango's exploits because I feel like there's reason to think they'll be similar. But even so, I was gonna say like, well, Fett did beat Obi-Wan. It's like, but no, he survived long enough to escape Obi-Wan, and that was Jango and not Boba. I think that's too tenuous a thing here.
As a child, has shown himself capable of killing Jedi.
How?
Which ones?
The first one that comes to mind, actually, he very nearly kills Mace Windu and Anakin, both.
How?
With a bomb.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that in this arena battle, though.
Why not? It was a booby trap, is what it was. A booby trap bomb.
Does it come in his box? I feel like no.
And also
He's got
remember,
explosives.
that was a very nearly, not a success.
The only reason it was very nearly is because reinforcements came and
Didn't
saved
he
them.
also have help from other bounty hunters for that one?
Sure.
Was that
Yeah.
the one where it was aboard one of the Venador cruisers?
Yeah.
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 But the other bounty hunters are with him, but it's Boba's plan and Boba's bomb. The other bounty hunters don't actually really do anything to or with the Jedi. They don't really interact. They're just there because they're his ride.
Are Windu and Skywalker on guard at that point?
No.
Kind of. I mean, they're investigating a crash,
Yeah.
and
but,
they know that something is off.
yeah. But that's not the same as, hey, we're dropping the two of you into an arena, kill each other. So I know that someone is actively
Yeah.
trying to kill me at this very moment.
But the thing is, they didn't even realize it was a bomb. The booby trap was so well disguised.
And also, even if he blows, so, okay, Maul steps on a bomb, it blows off his bottom half. Apparently that doesn't stop him. So.
Well, and again, he's not going to have time to really set an effective trap.
Maybe.
Especially
maybe.
not
I
from
mean,
someone
maybe
like
he
Darth
could,
Maul.
but I'm
But
I'm
also,
saying literally
remember,
Maul might survive
This
anyway.
is Boba, a young child Boba. This is Boba at...
Yeah. But even so...
So now take that same Boba who very nearly kills two of the best swordsmen, best warriors the Jedi Order ever had as a child, and give him 20 years more experience.
Yeah, that's fair, but I'm still...
Versus a guy who got taken out by a Padawan.
Adult Boba did not kill Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker's a whole different class, though. Luke Skywalker is more powerful than Darth Vader.
But not more trained. Remember, we're talking Boba
Stop
Fett
poking holes in my argument!
That's the whole point of the episode.
Not for you, Judge.
No, but my
Leave
main
it to Chris.
thing, my main thing here is just like, I feel like it's fairly compelling that even if Maul gets his bottom half blown off or something, he has shown able to continue on from that.
When no one's looking for him, if he gets his bottom half blown off, then Boba comes over and is like, goodbye.
Then Boba comes over and
Shoots
is like,
him.
sweet, I'm going to shoot him, and then gets a lightsaber to the face that gets thrown at him. I mean, like, or
I don't
gets
know.
just picked up by the Force and slammed
Obi-Wan
against
gets
stuff.
bifurcated by a Padawan.
You mean Darth Maul?
Darth Maul, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But you know what? We also don't see a heavy use of force powers versus any of the Fets. Because, I mean, the Jedi trying to keep things restrained. Obi-Wan doesn't actually want to kill Jango, right? I don't think Darth Maul would have the same restraint.
Yeah. Also, I'd say that Obi-Wan does that because he gets the drop. Like, because Darth Maul's all confident because he's got the high ground and he's not really paying attention. He's not expecting Obi-Wan to...
Which is weird. You'd think he would dominate with the high ground.
But
no.
I mean, we've already
Maybe
shown
it's a
that,
light side
We've
power.
already shown that Darth Maul can take on both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon at the same time, and as soon as Obi-Wan's out, he takes out Qui-Gon. Like, he is not a shabby swordsman, losing to Obi-Wan repeatedly.
Again, Boba
notwithstanding.
Fett's got rockets with splash damage. You can't deflect a rocket.
Sure you can with the Force.
That's right.
Dang it. I know. As soon as I said it, I was like, darn it with the
Okay,
Force.
I've
Nobody picked up on
played
this.
Jedi Outcast.
That's right.
You literally can do that in that game.
Yeah,
and it's
do
fun.
it all the time.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh,
You used to just stand there and let them shoot rockets at
Yep.
me because it was fun.
Push it right back. Let them kill
dang it,
themselves.
Ross.
We're gonna have to go with Maul.
Dang it. No.
All right, next.
All you angry fans out there, join me in sending your hate mail to Ross at... What the heck is our website, Ross?
Well, you'll
ain't
never
saying
know.
it until
Sorry.
later. Yeah.
Mr_R on Twitter.
Twitter.
Send him your hate mail.
And I will feel free to ignore it. Maybe. I might actually have a conversation. I think that'd be fun.
You heard it. He wants you to do it. Do
Anyway,
it.
next we have Grand Admiral Thrawn versus Rook.
Oh. Well, I mean, Legends canon, this is how Thrawn died. But we're not doing Legends, we're doing
Yeah.
canon. And I don't think that canon Rook is as hyper competent as Legends Rook was. And I think Thrawn has actually been increased in competency,
Physical prowess.
physical prowess in canon. I feel like Thrawn would quite potentially get the drop on him here.
I don't
That
think-
said, Rook still has that nasty sense of smell of his. He can track down Thrawn pretty effectively in here.
And Thrawn, he is a good marksman, for sure. But Rook is a sniper specialist.
He is a
in
sniper
Rebels.
specialist, and he's very good at hiding and staying out of sight. He blends in well. with
Plus, he
his-
can climb up anything. He's like a gecko.
you know.
Does Thrawn have information about his species before going
Oh,
in?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah,
does.
Thrawn would know
Yeah,
that.
Thrawn knows.
So he's going to know what he's up against.
I was to say, because I think that's kind of one of Thrawn's defining traits is he somehow knows everything about his opponents and uses all of that. He's very good at using all of that knowledge.
Yeah, he would be very good at strategizing here.
I still think Rook is going to take it.
Yeah, I lean towards Rook as well, just
Because Rook is
narrowly.
extremely strong physically.
He is
And then,
very
but before that,
confident.
he's going to be taking sniper shots at Thrawn. Thrawn, at most, in his action figure pack, is going to have a little handheld blaster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
pistol
think it'd be an
probably.
awesome
Yeah.
fight to watch, but I'd give it to Ryuk. And also, I'm somewhat biased just because Legends canon. That's what happened to Thrawn. So
Wow,
Granted,
we just
Ryuk
knocked out
caught
We
Thrawn.
did knock out.
Yeah.
Thrawn.
I honestly did not expect that. I thought
Yeah.
Thrawn for sure
I
was
just
going to win.
yeah, I mean Thrawn's awesome, but he's not. This is combat specifically. Like if we want to talk about ship to ship commanding, well, nobody's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
beat Thrawn, but
Yeah, and he is limited in that space. But anyway, next we have Jango Fett versus Darth Bane or Cad
Cad
Bane,
Bane.
not
No.
Darth Bane.
Darth Bane got knocked out by
Yeah.
Kylo Ren.
Lame. Shouldn't
So
have happened.
the fight, the who is better fight, Jango Fett or Cad Bane. Now, there's a lot to speak to Bane's prowess here, but part of that is because we just get to see more of Bane than we ever get to see of Jango. I think a compelling argument in favor of Jango is that yeah, Cad Bane is this guy that Palpatine hires to hunt down Jedi. Jango Fett is the one that he goes, yeah, I want a couple 100,000 of these as my soldiers. No, he does not make himself an entire army of Cad Banes. He makes himself an entire army of Jango Fetts.
True, but that's because like the physical structure of the creature, right? But both of these guys are all about the gadgets.
It's true.
You know what I mean? I mean, Jango Fett, he's gonna have the rocket backpack. He's gonna have the whipcord.
Yep.
He's got a flamethrower. He's got dual blasters,
Yep. He's got a jetpack.
right? And then jetpack. Okay. Cad Bane has the rocket boots, so they both have the power of flight.
Yep.
Cad Bane also has the dual pistols.
And they're both killer shots.
They're both killer shots. Cad Bane has the electrocution
Yeah.
wrist glove thingy. I think he also has a whipcord.
So they've got a very similar set of stuff.
Yeah.
Cad Bane is pretty prone to use explosives, grenades, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So, and he usually, like, in almost every episode, he's tossing a grenade somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say he's probably got a couple.
Well, but grenades require ground. Well,
yeah.
unless you time it right.
Yeah.
I would point out too that Jango Fett has more significant armor than Cad Bane. Like,
Yes.
Cad Bane walks around
Yeah.
in a really classy duster and hat, and he's certainly, I'm sure he's got stuff under there, but Jango Fett is more outfitted to take damage and move on. And I feel like that might give him an edge, where they've both got similar tool sets, they've both got similar skill sets. Yeah, Cad Bane's really nasty, but that's partly, again, because we've
Okay.
seen so much of him.
Also, knowing these two characters, that they had this intense professional rivalry,
Yeah.
I think they would settle this like men. I think Cad Bane would be like, let's do this old school style. Your blaster versus mine, 10 paces, no tricks. Who's the faster draw? Western style. And in this case, I think Cad Bane's going to win. Jango Fett is shown to be a little bit slow pulling that blaster out.
Would Jango accept that? Sort
Yeah, I
of
was gonna
duel?
say, I don't know what I've seen of Jango. That does not sound like a Mandalorian thing.
Yeah.
That's good.
The
They're gonna-
honor?
No, the honor
the
is one
whole-
thing, but the fight to the like they don't get rid of weapons to fight like that. It's like, no, let's
Yeah.
just go all out
I
as
mean,
gentlemen.
a duel like that doesn't speak to honor. It's just let's see who. I mean, it's a speed.
Well, and speed, Cad Bane is definitely going to have the quicker draw.
Sure, but I think that's
Which
what
is
would
just
make-
more reason for Jango to not take it.
Yeah.
Well, but even if then they don't take it and they're still just... I mean, Cad Bane has also shown that he's pretty adept at dodging bullets.
Yeah. And they're both going to be really hard to hit, but I think the difference for me is that if Jango gets hit, he's got armor that's going to make it easier for him to keep going than if Cad Bane gets hit.
I also don't see as Cad Bane has a response to Jango's rocket. Which are those targeted rockets?
No,
that I
I think
know.
they're dumbfire.
They're dumbfire. Okay.
Yeah. Also, we see Cad Bane in Clone Wars that he does get shot in clone armor and survives. Jango Fett, or we see clones getting shot all the time, who are Jango Fett.
In Stormtrooper armor, it's different.
I don't know. I'm trying for anything.
Yeah. Also, at the end of the day, for me, I'm going to go with the Emperor's implicit recommendation there that he picked Jango Fett for this. I think Jango's got the edge. Narrowly.
Until season 7 of Clone Wars comes
And
out
maybe.
next year.
Quite maybe. We'll see. The
Just
resurrected
kidding,
Jango Fett versus Cad
no,
Bane.
except what it would be Boba Fett versus Cad Bane, because
Ah.
that's what Cad Bane wanted, and we know Boba Fett lives.
Yeah.
We don't know that Cad Bane lives, so...
That is fair.
Ross, make your call. I'm still sticking with Cad Bane. I think he's the better bounty hunter. I think he's the better fighter.
I think that's mostly biased because we've seen more of him than Jango.
I agree. I think I'm going to have to actually lean on Jango.
Lame. Darn it.
Sorry,
Cad
you don't
Bane,
get
we
your
tried.
Cad Bane Palpatine matchup.
Which, Cad Bane, by the way, voiced by the lovely James Arnold Taylor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I
Who
did
does
s-
our...
I noticed that when I
I
saw the first
Yeah,
Cad Bane
when I
episode,
realized
I was-
that, I was going to have him do a Cad Bane voice, and I thought, well, Cad Bane's voice is so heavily modulated, there's
Yeah,
no way
that's
we
true.
can do
It
it.
wouldn't work.
So, unfortunately, no Cad Bane anywhere in our episodes yet.
Next, we have Darth Vader versus Mother Talzin. Oh, man.
This is tricky.
That'll be fun, but
Oh, it's okay. So Anakin Skywalker has faced off against Mother Talzin, and obviously he's alive by the Imperial period. She
Yes.
is not.
yes.
So I don't know, but her dark magic is so
It
powerful.
is pretty significant. His force is so powerful.
I was going to say, because isn't her magic is force-based?
It's related.
Yeah, kind of.
They're vague.
It's like force. It is the force, but it's more like force adjacent to the dark side.
Okay.
It's like a branch of the
Because
dark
see,
side.
I always liked how the Jedi Knight series kind of addressed Force users going against each other, where if I have Force powers and try and Force push you, you just use the Force to resist.
Yeah.
And it does it automatically in the
Yeah.
games, but I mean, we can say you can be trained to do that as a
sure.
response. So I mean, I would think that
I think it only makes sense that you could figure out a way to do that. Like,
yeah. But as far as Vader versus Talzin, I feel like
But she mind controls people, though. She mind controls other Force users.
does she?
Yeah, I think like Ahsoka, gets like taken over briefly. She's got like the green glowy eyes.
Isn't that more like they're possessed by other
Yeah,
Force
but
spirits?
it's her magic that's doing
Okay.
it. So I mean, this is tough
Yeah.
because in a physical match, a melee brawl, Darth Vader's gonna eat her alive. She will not be able to stand up to that. But her force powers are pretty dang strong, and
so
she's
I guess
good
my
at keeping
question
people
then
far away.
is Vader strong enough with the Force to resist her mind control? And I think yes.
Yeah, I think he is. It would be a really cool fight to watch.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni, if you're listening, just do like a 5-minute short.
Yeah, just listen to all three of these. We've given you so many matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know all the fans want them.
Especially-
I don't even
especially
know
me.
half these characters and I want them.
Yeah, this episode in particular, I would think a lot of these
Are going to be
like
pretty
see.
good. Yeah, the fights are only going to get better from
Yeah.
here on out.
Yeah.
So just wait till Poggle the Lesser goes up against Vader.
Toggle's already dead, sadly. Sebulba.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. Well, no. Looking at that bracket, probably not. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Vader could resist Talzin's magics and triumph
It would take a lot of concentration, but I basically imagine Vader using all of his concentration and all of his force strength to sort of ward her off while he just slowly advances, and she's throwing whatever she can at him, but he's gonna then get up to her and lightsaber her to pieces.
It is a tough combination because that was what we attributed his victory to Snoke. Strong enough with the Force powers to just hold it off, but he will beat almost anyone.
almost.
physically.
This next match.
This next one will be tough for him.
Um,
I'm inclined to agree. I think Vader could hold off long enough to get close enough with the lightsaber.
yeah.
Oh, since he's knocked out now, I was hoping he was going to go up against a Force user, but Cad Bane,
Yeah.
he has these. If you watch the Clone Wars or have the Lego piece or whatever, you see he's got little pipes coming out of his neck.
Yeah.
It's actually a collar that makes him resistant to Force choking,
Huh,
so that he
that's funny.
cannot be Force choked.
Cool.
So I was like,
Does it give an explanation as to why?
I can't remember. There is an explanation. I just don't remember what it is. But I remember looking it up while I was reading about Cad Bane one day, and I was like, "Oh, that's what those are for." Wow, that's way cool. No wonder the Emperor's always hiring him to kill Jedi.
Because Jedi force
Yeah,
choke
Force
so
choke
much.
so much.
Well,
Next, we have
Anakin does.
no, Anakin doesn't. Darth Vader does.
No, Anakin does in the Clone Wars. He Force chokes people a lot. He loses his temper, and then usually somebody will be like, "Anakin, calm
Generally,
down."
most Jedi aren't known for falling to the dark side, though.
Next, we have Sebulba versus Kylo Ren.
I hope you enjoyed your pod racing career, Cibola.
Yeah. Kylo Ren.
That's all there is to that.
Yeah, that's almost a no contest. We have Darth Tyrannus versus Bosk.
Dooku. Yeah, like...
I mean, Bosk is good. He does come from a...
Yeah,
is
but
a
he's
good
gotten this
bounty
far
hunter.
because he was up against Normos. I don't think putting him against
Yeah.
that particular... And not just any Jedi or Sith, but that Dooku in particular is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
We now have Arinda Price versus the Grand Inquisitor.
Grand Inquisitor. Physical prowess isn't going to do much against a lightsaber.
Yeah. And even if she somehow, knocked his lightsaber out of his hand or something like that, he's got the Force. I mean, he's got Force speed. He does choke people regularly.
Yeah.
So he can Force push her up against a wall or whatever, throw stuff at her with the Force. It's just... Sorry, Mary McGlynn, you're out.
Okay, that completes our
final-
table of 8.
Final 8 matchups. We're now down to our final 8 contestants.
Yes. So, first, we have Emperor Palpatine versus Darth Maul.
Palpatine.
We've seen this go down in Clone Wars. Darth Sidious comes to Darth Maul and takes him and Savage Opress at the same time
Yep.
and manhandles them both without breaking a sweat.
Yeah,
Yep.
he really does.
So, thanks, Dave Filoni, for making that one easy.
Okay, we now have Rook versus Jango Fett.
Oh. I'd give that one to Jango. Like, Rook is pretty competent, but I think he's not one of these legendarily competent people like
I agree.
Jango and Cad Bane and
Yeah,
Boba.
Jango Fett.
So Jango, I'd say, has got the edge there.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah. I was even thinking of skipping it and coming back to it, but no, I think it'll work better if we just do it now. Darth Vader versus Kylo Ren.
Oh
my.
The OG versus the Pretender.
Yes.
But the juiced up,
Yeah.
stupidly awesome Pretender.
Kylo Ren is massively powerful. If Luke is supposed to be more powerful than Vader, Kylo Ren, I'd say, is on par with Luke. Lacking the training, but...
Definitely lacking in training, but remember, Luke is supposed to go to the good side, so he never goes full bore.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? And Vader's got no compunction about putting a rival in his place.
My main thing for this, when I was looking at this possibility coming up, was the question of, is Kylo Ren going to freeze up faced with his grandfather that he idolizes so much? Is that going to be a thing that stymies his ability, or is it going to be something that he goes, I can overcome this? And personally, from what we've seen of him, I don't think he's going to overcome it.
I don't think he will either. I think he would have this moment of being like, oh, you're Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Let's rule the galaxy
Exactly.
together. And Vader would be like, sure, put his hand on his shoulder and run him through the lightsaber. Be
Particularly
like,
because Darth Vader doesn't know who this guy is.
exactly, yeah.
It's like, why are you ripping off my mask, dude?
Yeah. But, yeah, exactly. I think there's no question they are both extremely powerful
Very
in the
powerful.
Force, but Darth Vader is refined.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's refined, and I do think Kylo Ren
Kylo
would freeze
Ren
up
is a
bit
blunt
facing that.
instrument, which works well on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Darth Vader can be blunt, but he also has many a
Well,
scalpel
he's blunt,
in
but
his
he's
armament.
also emotionally unbalanced in so many
Well,
ways.
and Kylo Ren-
this guy is kind of central to a lot of his emotional imbalance.
Yes, and I was going to say, even without being in Darth Vader's presence, Kylo Ren is unhinged.
Yeah.
He is not in control of himself. And I'm not talking about just being angry when he shouldn't be. When he's angry and supposed to be fueling his dark side, whatever, he lets it out of control.
Yeah.
Vader takes that anger and says, okay,
Yeah.
now let's hone this and refine it into something I can use.
I could see making an argument that Kylo Ren could react with severe anger at having to deal with the man that he's been compared to this portion of his life, but I don't.
I think
I
there would
think
be
he
that
is
anger,
too
but it would
emotionally
be
fragile to handle.
I think
it.
you would see that anger, but it would be past the point of no return. It would be after he realizes, I've lost this fight. I'm still
and I
alive,
also
but I've
don't
lost
know
this
if
fight.
it would be anger. Like the light side has too much a pull on him. He's kind of replaced the family he's abandoned and vilified with Vader in his head. Like Vader is his family, and I don't think face down with him that he would actually want to kill him or be willing to.
Yeah, I think Vader's... It would be the coolest looking fight
It'd be a lot of
ever, But I think Vader's going to do
Yeah,
it.
I think
Vader is
Vader would
simply
take
more
out
refined, more in control.
That would be a super interesting fight, especially when you look at their fighting styles. Because I don't know if they did it on... Well, they probably did it on purpose, but Kylo's fighting style in Force Awakens is so reminiscent of what Vader's style was. Vader is very much an overpowering type style.
Yeah.
He very much bashes when
Yeah.
he's fighting you. Kylo did a lot of that versus Rey. He switches
Yeah.
up a little bit. He kind of has some aspects of both. He will do a little bit fancier stuff like Anakin would, but his style is very much inspired by Vader. So it depends on, at least as far as a straight saber fight, would Kylo having the ability to do the faster, fancier things win out versus Vader?
But remember, we have Vader from Rogue One. That's a lot of fancy work in the hallway.
Not to the same level that he was when he was Anakin. It's
Right,
still very
but-
much the overpowering.
But what we're saying is, like, he still has all those cards in his hand to play if he wants to.
And I haven't even been picturing either of these. I've been picturing Empire Strikes Back, Vader fighting Luke, but we're putting Kylo there instead. And yeah, I'm still giving that to Vader.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
even in Rogue One, it's still
Especially
relatively
'cause
slow
Vader
on a sword fight type scale.
Vader deliberately undermines Luke's calm. Like
Yeah.
he almost taunts Luke to the dark side in
Yeah.
that fight.
And again, in
And-
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and that's Luke. And Kylo Ren, meanwhile, he's
He
not going
would
to
be
handle
so
taunts well.
easy to push
It's
over
like, yeah,
mentally.
maybe Vader doesn't know exactly who this guy is, but I don't think it's going to take him long to figure out Kylo Ren's hot points and unbalance him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep,
Agree.
there's
There it
Vader.
is.
Sorry, Kylo.
Yep. Next, we have Darth Tyrannus versus the Grand Inquisitor.
Okay. So, this is tough. Again, like so many of these, there's a great argument to be made for either side here. Chris, why don't you... I'll argue whatever one you don't.
I'll take Tyrannus.
Okay.
Tyrannus is the personal protege of Darth Sidious. He is the leader of the Confederation of Separatist Systems, and he has a nasty habit of taking on a lot of foes in really nasty ways. He's explicitly trained in lightsaber combat, which is what generally gives him his edge. And the Inquisitor, on the other hand, like, he is powerful and he is well trained, but he's also in a situation where the people over him, Vader and Palpatine, have specific reason to keep him from getting too powerful and too well trained in all of this. Whereas Sidious didn't really have that reason with Dooku. And Dooku is a fully fleshed out Sith Lord with all of the power and training, plus all of the Jedi training behind it. Whereas Grand Inquisitor, his education is a little more piecemeal, a little more deliberately stunted, I'd say. So I'd give that to Tyrannus.
I disagree. The Grand Inquisitor's time, as it is spent from the fall of the Republic to the time he meets Darth Vader after a few years before Episode 4, is spent in the Jedi Temple studying Jedi saber techniques, all that kind of stuff. He is a temple guard, Jedi temple guard, so he's not nothing with a lightsaber. Not only that, he is so familiar with and knowledgeable about saber techniques that when he fights Kanan Jarrus in Rebels for the very first time, he is able to identify not only what forms Kanan is using, but who trained him in lightsaber combat. He says, "Oh, you were trained by Master Depa Billaba. She favored Form 3 to a ridiculous degree, as do you." Like, that's a dude who knows his lightsaber combat. And in fact, if you watch their lightsaber combat of Dooku and Grand Inquisitor, you actually see that they're both very elegant fencing styles.
Yeah, they are.
Which makes their lightsaber combat really fun to watch, either of them. Very, very elegant.
So if they're both very elegant, powerful fencers, then I would say that Tyrannus is the more powerful Force user of the two, which would give him the edge in that. Like, if they both got on par in fencing, I think the Force is going to favor
Inquisitor
him.
also goes toe-to-toe with Vader and manages to hold his own for quite some time.
Yeah.
Dooku loses his head
To Vader.
To Anakin, to
Yeah.
Vader.
After going toe-to-toe with him repeatedly. And Vader explicitly, he has to start pulling out the big guns, but he explicitly wasn't before that.
So, I don't know. I think it's a fairly even match there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
The question I would pose for the two of you to discuss would be, if the Grand Inquisitor was so powerful, Why didn't the Emperor take him as a Padawan instead of Darth
Because he
Tyrannus?
wasn't as powerful as Anakin, and Anakin had
No,
already been
instead of Dooku.
instead
Yeah,
of Dooku. He wasn't as corruptible at the time. He was able to seduce Dooku. The Emperor was able to seduce Dooku before the.
That was a steamy scene.
Yeah. It was before the Grand Inquisitor ever started having doubts about the Jedi Order. So basically, it was just a matter of timing.
Yeah.
But the Grand Inquisitor, he isn't seduced by the dark side. He willingly goes to it.
I kind of feel like that's what happens with Dooku, though, too. And I really, at the end, I still lean on. I think that Dooku's greater practice and strength in the Force.
Say the
is
line, Chris. I'm waiting for you to say the line. Obviously, this cannot be matched by our skill with a sword, but by our knowledge of the Force.
Isn't it the other way around?
Yeah, I was going to say, with our knowledge of the
yeah,
Force, our skill with the lightsaber.
Okay, I botched it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It was still funny.
But again, the Inquisitor has done nothing but study the Force and stuff for 20-ish years.
But I feel like if he was reaching the point of
years.
Dooku's skill and ability, the Palpatine would have wiped him out just in case. Like, Palpatine keeps Vader around because he's manipulated Vader into being this perfect Sith apprentice who isn't going to try and overthrow him. He's not going to trust
the Emperor, though, is the one who specifically started the Inquisitorius.
No, that's fair.
But
whatever. I feel like he's going to watch that program,
Emperor.
And eventually it's like, okay, Grand Inquisitor's getting a little too powerful, a little too strong. I'm going to wipe him out now.
And I also feel that book knowledge is not as good as field knowledge, which
True.
very much goes in Dooku's favor.
I don't know, though, because the Inquisitor is also in charge of training all the other Inquisitors.
That is...
But again,
and he has field knowledge against
versus
Jocasta Nu and Vader and others. I mean, he was around during the height of the Jedi. He's a temple guard.
But I mean, so is Dooku.
Yeah.
But see, and here's also the other question: is who do they pick their temple guards from? Are the temple guards the most powerful Jedi? I feel like they're not.
Really,
I feel like they're kind of the second rate.
Also, I would add that...
Not saying they're bad, but just like...
No, they are the police of the Jedi.
Sure.
Who trained the Grand Inquisitor, by the way?
Ooh, that's a good question. Why don't you talk some more
Because
about
Dooku
that?
was explicitly Yoda's Padawan.
Yeah.
Like, that's some pretty high-class training there. And, I mean, maybe if the Grand Inquisitor got training from the Emperor, but it sounds like mainly he trained himself.
Yeah.
On top of whatever he already had from the Jedi Order. But I lean towards Dooku with the higher level
of experience. Because that's my thing, is that, I mean, yes, the Grand Inquisitor is going to be an awesome in all things, but between the two, I think Tyrannus still has the edge.
I'm picturing this fight, though, like an evil version of the chatty duelist from Princess Bride. Like, I see that you've studied your Agrippa.
Yeah, it doesn't say who his trainer was. It just says Masters Darth Sidious, Darth Vader, which is obviously not the right master we're looking for in this case.
Yeah.
And he's also, interestingly, one of the few characters that we don't have a name for.
Yeah.
We only have his title, Grand Inquisitor. So, I don't know, man. Make your call. I've made the best case I can.
Yeah,
That's a good case.
I'm going to have to go Tyrannus. Again, it would be another one of those amazing...
It would be so,
watch.
and it would be beautiful because they're both so flowing and elegant with their sabers. It would be a beautiful fight.
Either that or it'd be like that first fight from Hero, Jet Li's Hero, where it's like we're gonna stand here meditating until we already know who wins, and then they just win.
Which is another beautiful fight. I love it. If you haven't watched Hero, Jet Li's Hero, you should. It's amazing.
We are now down to our final four.
Woot!
Who are they, Ross?
The standing is thus: Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, Darth Tyrannus, and Jango Fett.
Kudos to Jango,
Fett, man.
Yeah.
Way to go the distance, dude.
Yeah. Now, before we get into this, I will say, looking at this,
I did not expect Jango Fett to go that far. Honestly,
the way these brackets have played out,
I expected to get Maul up to the front. But...
Yeah. Well, see,
but I forgot he was up against Palpatine.
Maul was against Palpatine. The way that these brackets have worked out is Jango was actually in a bracket that didn't have
any significant force users.
Any force users, in it.
Well, and I did it that way just because I'm like, well, if I put force users in every bracket, we will only have force users left, and then that's that's fun.
But I mean, that's what it's coming out to, because again, except for Jango and Rook, I mean, everyone else was strong force user up to that point. Well, I guess Sebulba actually technically, but again, he had a good bracket.
Sebulba goes almost as long as the freaking Jango Fett. Oh man.
Yeah. That is one thing that
He made it to the third round.
Doing a lot of these fencing brackets myself. It is interesting how greatly,
He made it as far as Boba Fett.
Yeah, it is interesting how greatly these things can vary just depending on who you're matched
Oh
up
yeah,
with.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, we could honestly do this entire bracket again, just switch up the order and have probably a different result. At
Well,
very
potentially.
low, I bet the final four would be different. You might still have the final winner be the same, but I bet the final four would be different.
That's fair.
Alrighty.
Okay,
Anyway.
Let's do it.
So first up, we can do Emperor Palpatine and Jango Fett.
Jango Fett's good, but he's not that good.
Nope.
No, he's not. Palpatine. If we hadn't seen him in the prequels, but particularly in Episode 3, I might be like, yeah, Jango could maybe do it, but no. If he's that good with a lightsaber on top of everything else,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's Palpatine.
So the other semifinal are Vader versus Tyrannus.
One we've seen.
Yep.
I don't feel like
Well,
Darth.
you know what?
It was Anakin versus.
I don't think that's the
Dooku.
same thing. I think Vader has a significant increase from when he was.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that we've seen this when it was Dooku versus Anakin. The first time
And Vader's
Dooku
only
narrowly
become more
won.
powerful.
The second time Anakin first dehands him and then beheads him. And then, and so I feel like, yeah, Vader has, granted he's lost some of his physicality with the loss of limbs and such, but I don't feel like that's anything he wouldn't have learned to compensate for by the time.
As
this
Grievous
is-
would say, they're not losses, they're improvements.
Well, and that is the point of Vader going slower, changing to a more heavy-handed
Methodical, yeah.
style, is because he can't move as fast, so he's just going to overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Yeah, it
So-
might take him a
But-
bit to get there, but when he does, it's an unstoppable
'cause
train.
you try to parry those hits, you don't parry those hits. You take them and you back
You
away
recoil,
to survive.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
So Vader.
But I feel like, yeah, Vader's already won this once, and he might have lost some physicality, but he's still improved. I mean, he hasn't
Yeah.
lost any more physicality than Dooku had already lost to old age. So
Our final matchup:
yeah, exactly the one I thought we'd have.
Yeah, me too.
Emperor Palpatine.
The only hope was that Darth Bane could get out, and then you'd have Darth Bane versus Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
But you shut that down.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's Chris's fault, everyone.
Well, if we had Vader on the other side and we ended up with Vader and Palpatine in our second to last matchup, then we might have been
That
looking
would
at
be-
Kylo Ren and Vader
Yeah.
here. But,
See, and that's the thing, is it all depends
Yeah.
on where everyone's placed.
yeah.
So Vader versus Palpatine.
Yeah. So, I mean, in a way we've seen this, but that was very much Vader catching him off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that isn't
Catching
exactly
him
the
off
same.
guard in more than one way.
More than one way,
Not
yeah.
only does he not see Vader coming up behind him and grabbing him,
He also doesn't.
he
see the
also
betrayal.
doesn't
Yeah.
suspect for even 1 millisecond that Vader's going to turn on him.
Yeah.
This is a death match where he knows Vader is out for blood.
So we've seen Palpatine beat Yoda. Would Darth Vader be able to beat Palpatine? I feel like yes. I feel like Palpatine's power over Vader is purely psychological and circular. Like he set up a chain of events that would allow him to wheedle his way into Skywalker's mind and just win him over completely. If only one of them can survive, though, I don't think Vader's devoted enough in that way to be worried about killing his master. Like
Right.
He's clearly not worried about killing his
Yeah.
master.
Well, and I mean, that's his proposal to Luke. It's like we'll overthrow him, and even in Episode 3, he's willing to toss that out there.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like that's going to stymie Vader at all, and I feel like Vader is the terrifying monster that Palpatine managed to leash cleverly. But if he'd ever gotten off that leash, it would have ended up basically how it did anyway.
And also a point in Vader's favor is that, we kind of discussed how his lightsaber style changes from Anakin to Vader, that he is slow and methodical, but boy, it's a hammer coming down on you. Palpatine, we don't really ever see him use the lightsaber after getting electrocuted.
That was going to be the thing I was going to ask about next.
He's a master swordsman before then.
No, we do. When he fights Yoda, it's after he got electrocuted.
Oh, true.
But he's not using a saber there.
Right.
He does.
Not well,
He
I
does
guess
for
he
the
does a
first
little.
while, and then they switch to throwing
Yeah.
Senate seats at
But
them,
it's
so
Yeah.
but it's
symbolically throw
not,
apart the
and you
Senate.
take that 20 years later.
Yeah, and I don't know.
It's-
It's like how much has that affected him? We don't really have much. But even either way, even if we're taking Sidious at his peak there, so to speak, when he
Yeah,
created
I'm
the
picturing.
Empire,
I'm not. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
even if we took that Sidious and put it up against Darth Vader of the original trilogy, I'd give that to Vader still. If Sidious has slacked
the
off.
only thing that I can think of for Sidious is the Force electrocution, because that does mess with
the thing about that
Vader's
for me
suit.
is that we have established in canon, like it was a Legends thing, but we also established in canon with the prequels that you can catch Force lightning on a lightsaber.
Yes.
And given that, Darth Vader is perfectly capable of blocking that lightning.
True. And the only reason he didn't in Return of the Jedi is because he had both hands on the Emperor.
Or one hand and one stump.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. He one-stumpedly had the Emperor.
Yes.
It's an amazing deadlift Vader's got there with one
Yeah.
hand. Way to go.
Yeah.
I feel like the Emperor's probably surprisingly light.
Probably.
Yeah. And again, props to David Prowse, man, for just being
Yeah.
like, you wusses, this is how it's done. And he literally goes and grabs him.
Did he?
Did he really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, have I not shared that story before? Oh
No,
my
tell
goodness.
us.
Yeah.
Finish up our
So,
to
okay.
finish up our villains bracket by telling us how amazing Vader is
In real
behind
life.
the scenes.
Yeah. So, for that scene, they were trying to get all this rigging and stuff, like underneath Palpatine's cloak and whatever, to lift him up, because they just didn't think that anybody would be able to lift him completely up over his head and toss him. But then it was like kept on pulling on the robes all funny, and you could totally tell that it was this pulley system or whatever. And they spent like 2 days of filming trying to make this work, and they just couldn't do it, which is a huge amount of time in your
yeah.
filming.
Massive.
2 whole days.
Especially back.
And so, and Prowse kept, this is kind of funny, he was in the waiting room in costume all 2 days.
Oh.
Because they were like, they had, can't get in
Yeah, we're
costume
just gonna
today,
get
we're going to
this
figure it
working.
out. And he's like, okay. So the third day, he is waiting, or maybe it's the end of the second day, I think is what it is. He's been waiting in his dressing room for hours and hours and hours to get the call to come back out or whatever. And he's like, what is the holdup? He finally goes out, and they're like, oh, well, we can't get this to work. Vader's going to lift him up and throw him over this edge here. And he's like, what are you talking about? Why won't this work? And they're like, oh, we can't get this thing. And he says, look, it's easy. And he goes over to Ian McDiarmid and literally hoists the man up over his head. And George Lucas is like, well, all right, everybody get cameras in position. We're ready to go. Because David Prowse is this weightlifter. He was like Mr. UK or whatever.
Oh,
he was
wow.
this crazy bodybuilder.
I didn't know
Which is
that.
why they hired him to be the body of Darth Vader, because he is physically just stacked and imposing and tall and broad. And so he his whole life he'd just been, lifting weights, did all this stuff like way over his head. So he just went over there and he's like, what? This guy's like, what? $140 sopping wet? I'll just lift him up over my head,
Yeah.
And so then they saw that. Everybody was just in shocked silence for a minute. And then George was like, okay, everybody get ready to shoot. I guess we're ready. And
there
so
we go.
without any assistance of any kind, David Prowse literally for that shot hoists him up and chucks him over the edge.
So there we go. David Prowse could beat Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a heck of a show, but
I feel like, take Sidious's fight with Yoda and have him tossing heavy stuff at Vader and just watch that stuff stop as Vader's again he's just pacing forward like
Yep.
as much as I'm not that fond of the Vader's so cool that Rogue One does, it's like he is. He is, and
Yeah.
Vader is king. Got to give it to him. He's one of the greatest villains of all time for a really good
for
reason.
a real good reason. Yep.
So we're going Vader, huh?
There it is, Master of Evil, as Obi-Wan
we said,
correctly assesses. So there
What
it
do
is,
you
guys.
say, Judge? Do you agree?
Well, he doesn't have a choice. We both agree.
Well, that's true. We both did. He's outnumbered, but I'm curious.
Well, it's just I can't think of a single thing to disagree with you on.
Right? I want to give it, because Palpatine is nasty.
Yeah.
Especially after Episode 3 revealed that he can bust
But
it out
he's more like a
lightsaber,
spider
too.
pulling the strings,
Yeah,
and
but
that's how he works.
But that's what I'm saying. Is
And-
even in Episode 3, he takes
Yeah.
out. He goes up against Mace Windu and 3 other Jedi. Takes those 3 other Jedi out
Oh,
like that.
I forgot. Since we
Yeah.
don't have to worry about just movies. Sorry, I'm still on our last episode here. But no, even in the comics and the books and stuff like that, Palpatine is so concerned with making sure he's got that emotional manipulation wrapped up because he knows that Vader can take him out.
Yeah.
And his only chance of surviving is to keep him emotionally, mentally wrapped around his finger. And that if that ever goes away for whatever reason, it's game over for him.
The suit that Vader is in, is it still canon that it is actually semi-painful?
Yes.
So I mean, because that was
Yeah,
kind of
that's
the
why
idea.
he's in Rogue One. When he's in Mustafar, he's in the Bacta tank because he's basically used as like a sensory deprivation
Right.
thing, and it heals
Yeah.
him in his
Right.
wounds.
So for those of you that weren't as deep into the lore, Vader's suit was a little bit secretly designed to actually hold him back. It is a little bit painful for him to even function on a day-to-day basis. That was part of the point of putting him in that old Sith armor, was to hold him down a little. And that's, of course, Sidious pulling the strings. So.
Yeah. Yep. There's that's it, man.
But that, you know, I liken that to just like, so now Vader has spent 20 years learning to overcome this. Like, he's more powerful than he ever was.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's like that meme is the leg weights to slow down your toddler. It's like, no, man, that's dangerous. Now you're just going to have a toddler who's never
That's
skipped
exactly
leg day
what it's like.
and can kill you in one kick. Like, you don't do that. And that's what Palpatine's done to Vader.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there it is.
There we go. Definitive
Yep.
answer. Vader takes it.
Vader is it.
Yep.
So we appreciate you guys listening. As always, we do.
Let us know on Facebook or Twitter just how surprised you are by that outcome.
Yeah. Be sure to. Our next episode, I'm excited for. This is going to be another sort of analytical deep dive into the lore and
Our
everything
first
like that.
releasing on a weekly basis episode instead of a
Yeah.
batch.
Yeah, so get you ready for that. We're going to be discussing George Lucas's influences for Star Wars, the things that were in George Lucas's mind that sort of helped him produce Star Wars. A lot of Kurosawa and some other things as well. So
Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon. It's going to be a really fun episode. I'm very much looking forward to it. So I'm looking forward, honestly, to the research for this. So
Yeah.
it'll be pretty fun. As always, be sure to follow us on Twitter @MoreCivilized and join our Facebook group, A More Civilized Podcast.
And also remember our website, amorecivilizedpodcast.podbean.com. You can find me on Twitter @Mr_R*.
I would once again like to plug the webcomic Dreaming Beauty. Go to webtoons.com, webtoons.com, and look up Dreaming Beauty. That will be updating probably every couple of weeks. We're not quite sure what the schedule's going to settle into yet, but there's several updates up now. Go enjoy them, please.
Your Twitter?
Oh, yeah, sure. You can find me on Twitter if you want. Itinerant Baxter. I guess I should repeat that a few times to make sure you all know. I got it wrong before. So, Itinerant Baxter. No underscores, no nothing. And thank you all for listening, and may the Force be with you.
Always.
I'm Anna Graves, and thank you for listening to a More Civilized Podcast.